You ever meet a manager so smug, they think everyone around them is disposable? Well, my coworker taught one of those geniuses the most painful lesson imaginable by walking out mid-project with 10 seconds notice. And the chaos that followed? Oh, it was glorious. If you've ever dreamed of seeing arrogance backfire, hit that like button right now, because this is one of the most satisfying workplace revenge stories you'll hear today. Grab your coffee, sit back, and enjoy how karma works in real time. I used to work as a contractor at a mid-sized engineering firm. Nothing glamorous, just solid technical work that kept the company's machines and data systems running. There were 10 of us on the team, and all of us were contractors. The only full-timer was our manager. Let's call him Steve. Steve liked to remind everyone that he was permanent staff, like it was some badge of superiority. He'd smile smugly whenever anyone mentioned job security, saying things like, "That's the beauty of contractors, flexible, disposable, cost-effective." We laughed it off at first, but every joke like that chipped away at morale. Then one afternoon, everything changed. It was around 4 p.m. We were wrapping up reports when Steve called 3 of our teammates into a meeting. 10 minutes later, they walked out pale and silent, carrying their things. I asked what happened. One of them just muttered, "Guess today's our last day." No warning, no notice, just boom, gone. When the shock wore off, another contractor, let's call him Mark, and I went to Steve's office. Mark asked politely, "Hey, was there a reason we didn't give them any notice?" They had families, rent due. Steve leaned back in his chair with that self-satisfied grin and said, "That's why we hire contractors, so we can cut them loose anytime we want." He actually laughed like he'd cracked the world's funniest joke. Mark and I just stood there, stunned. That one line said everything about how he saw us. Not as people, not as professionals, just placeholders. Tools. That night, Mark called me. His voice was calm but cold. You heard what he said. "I'm done. I'm gonna find somewhere that treats people like human beings." I could tell he meant it. Mark wasn't impulsive. He was sharp, strategic. And when someone like that decides to make a move, they don't bluff. Over the next couple weeks, nothing seemed unusual. Mark kept showing up on time, doing his job flawlessly, smiling even. But behind that calm exterior, he was setting up the perfect silent revenge. He'd started interviewing elsewhere and quickly landed a new role. A better one. But here's the twist. He never told Steve. Not a word. Fast forward to the day everything unraveled. It was a Friday, typical end-of-week grind. Everyone was tired, juggling multiple projects. Mark was right in the middle of one of the biggest assignments. Code only he understood, systems only he could manage. Steve, of course, had dumped extra work on him, bragging about how easy it is to replace contractors. Oh, how wrong he was. At exactly 5 p.m., Mark stood up from his desk. Calm. Quiet. He unplugged his laptop, wrapped up his mouse and docking station, and walked straight to Steve's desk. Steve barely looked up from his computer. "Everything good?" he asked casually. Mark smiled. "Actually, yeah. Just wanted to drop these off. Today's my last day." Steve froze. "Wait, what do you mean, last day?" Mark, still perfectly polite, said, "I'm done. Thanks for everything." And with that, he placed the gear gently on the desk, turned, and walked out. No drama, no speech, just 10 seconds of pure, surgical precision. As he stepped into the elevator, his phone buzzed. Confirmation from his new job starting Monday. At the same moment, an email hit every manager's inbox. Notice of contract termination, effective immediately. By the time Steve opened it, Mark was gone. Now, you'd think Steve would shrug it off, right? I mean, one contractor leaves, no big deal. But here's the thing. Mark was in the middle of a project so complicated, none of us fully understood the setup. He'd built half the system architecture from scratch, customized every process, and documented nothing. Because, well, Steve never wanted to waste time on documentation. Within days, chaos erupted. Files went missing. The automated systems broke. Deadlines slipped. Clients started calling. The department fell behind schedule. And guess who had to clean it up? Steve. He tried blaming everyone else, but HR wasn't buying it. The VP even came down to our floor demanding answers. All Steve could say was, he just left without notice. To which HR replied, "Didn't you say that's why you hire contractors?" Mark's legend spread fast. Even the remaining staff started calling it the 10-second notice. For weeks, Steve looked like a ghost, buried under paperwork and sleepless nights, scrambling to untangle the mess. The project he said could survive anyone quitting instantly took an entire month to recover, and by the end, Steve's reputation was shredded. The irony? 2 months later, the company decided to phase out contract management roles, and Steve's was one of the first to go. Karma works slow sometimes, but when it hits perfectly. Mark never gloated. He didn't need to. His quiet walkout exposed Steve's arrogance to the entire company. He proved that respect isn't optional, it's structural. You can't build loyalty on condescension. And Steve? He learned what disposable really meant when the company tossed him out just as coldly. Sometimes revenge doesn't need to be loud or angry. Sometimes the most satisfying justice is silence and watching the system you created collapse under its own arrogance. If this story gave you that sweet dose of workplace karma, hit the like button and tell me in the comments. Have you ever seen a boss get exactly what they deserved? And of course, don't forget to subscribe for more true stories of poetic justice every week.